3, 2, 1.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Becky and I do true crime videos. Now today is a case that I have never heard of before, of this happening, if that makes any sense. This is on Ken McElroy and how he was a town bully, and the town allegedly, because this case is still unsolved, murdered him. The town just had enough and decided, you know what? We're gonna put justice into our own hands. And so they did, allegedly. I will put my usual trigger warnings. I hope everybody is staying happy, safe, and healthy. I also just want to quickly say thank you so much for the support recently. We have hit 600 friends, subscribers, so I really am so grateful. Let's get into today's case. Born in 1934, Ken Rex McElroy was a resident of Skidmore, Missouri. McElroy was the 15th of Tony and Mabel McElroy's 16 children. The McElroys never had any money, but they worked as sharecroppers and moved often before settling in Skidmore. The children had little parental supervision and, for the most part, ran free around town. The residents of the small town knew McElroy as the town bully. After dropping out of school in the 8th grade, Ken McElroy quickly became delinquent. It started with hunting raccoons and then escalated into petty crime until McElroy had become a full-fledged criminal. McElroy was known to have stolen grain, alcohol, gasoline, antiques, and even livestock. Some of the more serious charges: McElroy was accused of child molestation and statutory rape. McElroy was indicted 21 times and managed to escape conviction every time. Author Harry McLean wrote a book on McElroy's story called In Broad Daylight. McLean said, "He didn't have a bank account, didn't have a social security number, he didn't read. How did this uneducated person, how is he able to outwit the criminal justice system for 20 years? McElroy was a big man with cold eyes who always carried a gun. He would intimidate anyone who got in his way, usually by repeatedly harassing them or threatening them with a bullet. One time, a farmer named Romaine Henry caught McElroy trespassing on his property and attempted to chase him off. Instead of leaving, McElroy turned round and shot Henry in the stomach with his shotgun. Henry survived, and unlike the majority of McElroy's other victims, actually went on to testify in court against him. Being shot in the stomach wasn't enough though. McElroy was acquitted thanks to his talented attorney. Many speculate that McElroy also threatened the jury. It's alleged that McElroy found out where the jurors lived and placed rattlesnakes in their mailboxes as a warning. Most of McElroy's partners weren't women, but rather children, underaged girls, with whom he collectively had at least 10 children with. As far as I could find, McElroy was married 3 times. His first wife, Sharon, was 15 when they met, while McElroy was at least 20. McElroy was not a loving or kind husband. He regularly abused all of his wives. Eventually, Sharon and McElroy had 2 children. By the time their second children was born, McElroy had already found another girlfriend, who was Sally. She was only 13, whilst McElroy was around 27 years old. McElroy moved Sally onto the family farm with Sharon and their 2 children. So Sally had 3 children with McElroy and Sharon had another 2. McElroy was soon bored of Sharon, Sally, and his 7 kids and found another underage girl, Alice Wood, who is widely referred to as McElroy's second wife. McElroy moved out of his family home to be with Alice, but just like the past relationships, he was verbally and physically abusive towards Alice. When she gave birth to their son, she moved out to live with her mother and stepfather in St. Joseph, the next town over from Skidmore. Enraged by Alice leaving with his son, McElroy called the home and began threatening Alice and her family. He told them he was coming to pick up his son, and if anyone tried to stop him, he would kill them. Alice's stepfather basically told McElroy to shove it. McElroy drove to the house and shot him in the leg through his living room window. McElroy was arrested on assault charges, but Alice's stepfather would need to testify. To stop Alice's stepfather from testifying, McElroy carried on with his usual intimidation. He told the stepfather that he would kill his entire family, followed him, and sat outside his house for hours. Eventually, after an altercation at a bar during which McElroy threatened him with a shotgun, Alice's father dropped the assault charges. Even after all that had happened between McElroy and her family, Alice moved back into the McElroy family home with her son. To welcome her back, McElroy had already found another girlfriend, Trina McLeod. She was just 12 years old at the time, whilst McElroy would have been around 35. When she was 14, Trina got pregnant, and after giving birth, Trina and Alice were exhausted from living in constant fear of McElroy. They took their children and left the McElroy farm to live with Trina's parents. Once again, McElroy was having none of this. He went to Trina's parents' home, where he viciously attacked Trina and Alice, and then burned down the McLeod house to the ground. He forced the two women and children into his truck and drove them back to the farmhouse. Trina had to go to hospital for the injuries that she had suffered. The doctor who treated her was appalled and called child services. Trina was admitted into foster care with her son. McElroy was charged with arson, rape, and brandishing a deadly weapon. His lawyer managed to delay the process for so long. However, Trina, who was still a child, ran away. She went right back to the McElroy farmhouse with her son. McElroy got a divorce from either Sharon or Alice. The information is very unclear. And then married Trina so that she would not be compelled to testify against him. And just like everyone else, she ended up dropping the charges. The town hated him. He had been terrorizing Skidmore for years, and he kept getting away with it. Things reached a boiling point in 1980 when McElroy got into a confrontation with the town's elderly grocer, Ernest Bowenkamp. McElroy wound up shooting Bowenkamp in the neck, nearly killing him. Shortly after, McElroy was arrested and charged with attempted murder. A trial took place the following year, and for the first ever time, McElroy was convicted. However, the victory was short-lived. McElroy appealed the case and was released on bond. Once freed, McElroy didn't just quietly celebrate his victory. Instead, he continued to harass Bowenkamp. He showed up to the town's local bar, armed with a rifle and a bayonet, threatening to kill the elderly grocer. Cheryl Houston, which was Bowenkamp's daughter, said, "We were so bitter and so angry at the law letting us down that it came to somebody taking the matters into their own hands." The townspeople held a meeting. In what could only be described as vigilante justice, they conspired to kill Ken McElroy. Allegedly, even the mayor was in on it. The murder took place on July 10th, 1981, the day after McElroy had threatened Bowenkamp. It was a sunny, clear summer day. McElroy was getting into his pickup truck with his wife Trina on the main street of Skidmore, where there were a crowd of 30 to 50 people. When McElroy sat in his truck, he was shot several times. He was hit twice and died in his truck. Nobody called an ambulance. Of the potential 40 or so witnesses, with the exception of Trina, no one could name a shooter. Everyone claimed that they did not see who fired the shots. Most people said, "I heard a shooting and got down, didn't see a thing." That's the response that investigators repeatedly received when they questioned people over the death of McElroy. Allegedly, McElroy's widow, Trina, sued the town, the county, and some of the citizens for $5 million. However, allegedly the matter was settled out of court for only $17,600. It's been over 40 years, and no one has been charged in connection with McElroy's death. So, this case is basically unsolved. Well, that is the end of today's video. Let me know your thoughts on today's video, because I've certainly never heard a case like it. If it's taught you one thing, definitely be nice to everyone. I hope everybody is staying happy, safe, and healthy. Bye!